I'm Matt McClure, and this is Currents. Albany's legislative session gets extended, and the Senate burns the midnight oil on same-sex marriage. We'll find out where things stand. Plus, it was a very big celebration of traditional marriage at this church in Queens.
They're parishioners who have been married civilly for a number of years, but they finally decided that they wanted to regularize their marriages, and so they came to sacramentalize their marriage today.
And helping married couples make it past the honeymoon phase.
Coming to Post-Cana helped us to sit down and think about all the reasons why we got married and what we need to do to continue to sustain the marriage.
Well, good evening and thanks for joining us tonight. Well, today was supposed to be the start of summer vacation for New York State lawmakers. Instead, for yet another day, the halls of Albany's Capitol were filled with the noise of protesters and a flurry of activity by legislators in closed-door meetings. Though Governor Andrew Cuomo's same-sex marriage bill, known as the Marriage Equality Act, gets the most press, there are other hot-button topics in play up in Albany, including rent regulations and a property tax cap as well. Now, after private meetings this afternoon between Assembly Speaker Sheldon Silver, Senate Majority Leader Dean Skelos, and Governor Cuomo, Skelos announced a, quote, framework of an agreement to resolve all outstanding issues, with the notable exception of same-sex marriage. And with insiders predicting an end to the already extended legislative session tomorrow, if the bill, which has already passed the Assembly, comes to a floor for the vote in the Senate, Senate Republicans will hold the future definition of marriage in New York State in their own very hands as that vote is taken. Well, one Senate Democrat whose vote has never wavered during the push to vote yes on same-sex marriage is Senator Reverend Ruben Diaz.
There are a lot of people in the state of New York that are against gay marriage. And the legislators have to understand that. People saying the Reverend Diaz, Reverend Diaz. This is not Reverend Diaz issue. This is a people issue.
Well, a fierce advocate for traditional marriage, Senator Diaz joins me now on the phone as a vote on same-sex marriage seems just hours away. Senator Diaz, thanks for joining us from the Senate floor. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for inviting me.
Well, where do things stand now? Of course, Majority Leader Skelos says that the session is going to end tomorrow. Does that mean that this bill regarding same-sex marriage is going to come up for a vote?
Who knows? Who knows? No one knows what Senator Skelos is up to. I cannot tell you anything specific on that issue. It might be that we leave Albany without that issue coming to the floor, or it might be that he's gearing up to surprise us.
Right. It's been kind of hit or miss here over the past few days. I mean, there's been word that, it's going to come up for a vote on a certain day, and then it gets pushed back, and it gets pushed back some more. Do you have any sort of feeling, though, as to if it does come up for a vote, what the results of that vote would be? Do you have any sort of feeling for that?
The governor has always said that he will never introduce a bill unless he has the vote to pass it. The Assembly, Sheldon Silver said that he will not bring it to the floor of the Assembly unless the Senate will be ready to pass, to approve it. So, the governor already introduced the bill, and the Assembly already passed it. So, I'm afraid that I hope that we could defeat it. But I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. What's going to happen if the bill comes to the floor?
Sure.
The only thing that is very disappointing is a Democratic governor is making the Republican Party do what the Democratic cannot do when we were in control of the Senate. So to see the Republican Party and Senator Skelos and some Republicans, while the Republican Party is in control and while the Republican Party have the power to stop this, to see the Republican Party being the one that will allow this to happen in the state of New York, it is very disappointing.
Sure. Well, and along those same lines, you had said recently that you thought that same-sex marriage was inevitable in the state of New York. That was actually part of a statement that you had made to some in the media, and you had actually made a statement today, released on your website, that was sort of taken out of context in reports earlier today. What was the original meaning of what you said with the inevitability of this issue?
Well, no, I said when they asked me, I said that, do you think that, the question was, do you think that the gay marriage is inevitable? I said, well, it is inevitable if Governor Cuomo continue forcing the Republican Party to do what he wants, and if the Republican Party allows the governor to force them, it will be inevitable.
Sure.
So, Senator Diaz said that gay marriage is inevitable. Well, yeah, I said it based on the context that I am hoping and depending on Senator Skelos and the Republican Party not to allow it. But if they allow the governor to continue pressure them, it will be inevitable. Though it would be a done deal.
Sure. And it seems like there are some Republicans in the Senate who are willing to change their no votes to yeses if the religious exemptions are strong enough in this bill. What's the state of those religious exemptions now? Has there been any agreement to strengthen them?
They're not getting anywhere there, because what they want to do, they want to pass the bill as it is, and then later on do some kind of changes. And after the bill passes, nothing going to happen. So they're not doing any changes to the bill as it is.
Sure.
They are saying let's approve the bill, and then we will do a follow amendment, whatever. And the assembly that is controlled by Democrats will never allow that to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and if they were to change the bill and then pass it, then it would have to go back to the assembly, and they would have to pass that same bill before it could be signed by the governor, correct?
There you go, and I don't think they're willing to do that. So,
right.
So the bill, if it comes to the floor, it will come to the floor without those exemptions.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, this is obviously something.
And it would be a shame
Sure.
that Senator Skelos and the Republicans allow this to happen.
Sure. Well, and this is an issue that obviously hits kind of close to home for you as well. Your granddaughter has been someone who's been an outspoken supporter of this legislation, and is really, obviously on the other side of the issue from yourself, who is very much against this. Does having someone who is a very vocal supporter of this legislation, who is a lesbian in your family, does that sort of make you approach this legislation differently than you would otherwise, or does it give you pause for any reason?
Not at all. Not at all. I love my granddaughter. I have a sister in Puerto Rico, which I love too, and I have a nephew in Texas, which I love too. So not at all. The only thing that made me be the way I am and take the position I'm taking is my belief, my conviction in Jesus Christ. I am a minister, I'm a pastor of the gospel, I'm a preacher of the gospel, and I will not sell my belief or my faith. My family knows that. So there's love in my family. I love my granddaughter. When we sit at the table, we all it's a very happy family. Sure. So people are trying to divide and that the family, but they will not be able to do that. So there's nothing about me hating anyone. I just love everybody, especially my daughter. And what I preach in church is that anyone that hates and anyone that hate or that promote violence, physical violence to any human being will never go to heaven. So, that's my belief, and I will continue teaching that and loving my family.
Sure. Well, and one last question here for you, Senator, before we go. It's kind of a two-parter. Your fellow Democrats, Kruger, Huntley, and Addabbo, all flipped their no votes from 2009 to yeses now, this time around, assuming that it comes up for a vote, obviously. Why do you think that is, and has anyone tried to persuade you to change your vote?
But they've been trying to persuade me with threats to my life, to my family, to my daughter, with nasty words, with blogs, with news reports, with emails. They've been trying to persuade me every which way that they can. I am not persuadable. I will not change my mind. I understand that politicians like to keep their position, their jobs, and they always go the way that the winds blow. And when they see that the winds is blowing one way, they turn with the wind. I am not a politician. I will not turn. I will not change my vote. I will vote, and I will proudly be the only Democrat in the New York State Senate that will vote against gay marriage. And not only I will vote against gay marriage, I will speak in the floor when it comes.
All right. Well, State Senator Reverend Ruben Diaz, just out of time, but thank you so much, sir, for joining us today. We really appreciate it very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Well, stay tuned. Atheists are hot under the collar over a street sign in Red Hook, Brooklyn. We'll have that story, plus the rest of the day's headlines next. Welcome back to Currents. I'm Matt McClure. Coming up in just a bit, people getting ready for marriage have pre-Cana, but what happens after the wedding? We'll find out. But first, let's have a look at today's headlines. Well, Catholic homes in Northern Ireland came under attack on Monday. Reports say more than 100 Protestant teens and young men hurled rocks, bricks, and bottles at Catholic homes. Catholic leaders say the attacks were not provoked, but Protestant leaders say it was retaliation for attacks by young Catholics on Sunday night. Well, back in this country, the Bishops' Conference is urging lawmakers in Washington to support a bill that would protect refugees in the U.S. The Refugee Protection Act would eliminate a one-year filing deadline for people in the U.S. who are seeking asylum. It would also expedite the legal process for asylum seekers. Yesterday, which was World Refugee Day, the executive director of the Bishops' Migration and Refugee Services commended Senator Patrick Leahy and Congresswoman Zoe Lofgren for introducing that measure. Well, another day, another controversy over anti-abortion billboards by a Georgia group. The billboards, which are placed around the Atlanta area, read, "The 13th Amendment freed us, abortion enslaves us." The ads also include the website address toomany-aborted.com. Well, a director at the NAACP told the Huffington Post that comparing abortion to slavery raises concerns. Meanwhile, the man behind the billboards, Ryan Bomberger of the Radiance Foundation, tells the website Life News that the billboards are meant to, quote, expose the epidemic of abortion. Well, in other news, Planned Parenthood of Indiana will begin cutting back services as a result of the new law in that state that bans the organization from receiving federal funding. The organization had been able to keep its doors open through donations, but it said yesterday that funding from that source had run out. On its website, Planned Parenthood of Indiana announced that Medicaid patients will need to pay for their own care or find other funding sources in order to be seen at clinics. The group also announced that its clinics would each close for one day this week in an effort to save money. Well, meanwhile, the pro-life organization Room at the Inn has announced that it is building a maternity and post-pregnancy center on the grounds of the Catholic Belmont Abbey College in North Carolina. Now, according to the organization, the center will cater to single pregnant college women and will be the first of its kind in the country to be based on a college campus. Women will not need to be Catholic or students at Belmont Abbey to use the center. Well, a legal battle continues in Maryland over plans to build a Catholic hospital on a college campus there. A director for Americans United for the Separation of Church and State says Holy Cross Hospital would not provide the full range of services to patients. The hospital, which already has a location in Silver Springs, Maryland, is planning a new facility there on the campus of Montgomery College in Germantown. Now, according to reports, Holy Cross typically refuses to perform abortions or provide birth control. Well, a decision by Catholic University of America to return to single-sex dorms will face legal action. A professor at neighboring George Washington University says he's going to sue Catholic U for sex discrimination. The professor, John Bonzoff, says he's won more than 100 suits based on sex discrimination. Catholic University President John Garvey announced plans to go back to single-sex dorms last week. Garvey said the move is being made to reduce binge drinking and combat the hookup culture. Well, closer to home, an atheist group is demanding New York City remove a street sign dedicated to 7 firefighters killed on September 11th. The sign, which hangs on a portion of Richard Street in Red Hook, Brooklyn, names that section of the street as 7 in Heaven Way. Now, the president of New York Atheists told Fox News that the sign is, quote, really insulting to us. He said that they've concluded as atheists that there is no heaven and there is no hell. Now, a city official, meanwhile, questions why no one objected to the sign while it was going through the approval process. Well, officials have unveiled a commemorative 9/11 coin. The coin was unveiled yesterday at a ceremony in New York. The heads side features an image of the Statue of Liberty. The tails side features an image of an eagle and the words honor and hope. About 2 million of the coins will be available to the public later this year. They'll be on sale for $56.95, with $10 from the sale of each coin going toward the 9/11 Memorial and Museum. And when it comes to energy efficiency, even the Pope is on board. According to reports, the Pope will be getting a brand new hybrid Pope-mobile. Like the current Pope-mobile, the new one will be designed by Mercedes-Benz. It will run on a lithium-ion battery at slower speeds and on gasoline at higher speeds. Well, stay with us. There is much more Currents ahead. Coming up, Albany isn't the only place where marriage is a big topic of discussion.
Well, it's a feeling like I cannot describe it. Coming from my soul, from my heart, and I just feel closer to God.
Welcome back. Well, it is the thing you just cannot seem to escape these days: weddings. If you're a New Yorker and you watch your fair share of news, you've likely been bombarded with coverage of the same-sex marriage debate taking place in upstate New York. For everyone else, we also know that June is traditionally prime time for tying the knot. And this past weekend at St. Sebastian's Church in Woodside, Queens, love was in the air for some lucky men and women for what you might call a mass wedding. Several couples who had gotten married earlier before a judge or a justice of the peace, but never in a church, finally made their way to the altar to get what the old folks call the blessing of the rings.
What a great joy it is for our parish to be blessed by this group wedding today, by people who have been married and choose now to sacramentalize their marriage. And that is so, so important for all of us, because the sacrament of matrimony is a key sacrament for the life of the church.
They're parishioners who have been married civilly for a number of years. Some of them have children, but they finally decided that they wanted to regularize their marriages, and so they came to sacramentalize their marriage today.
Yeah, we were married like 10 years ago by the civil service, but we are Catholic, and we always in touch with the church and everything. So we just want to do it now as a religious ceremony. I think it's the right thing to do. Yeah, so I feel like more in peace with God and feeling that I'm doing the right thing as a Catholic.
One of the things that we find is that there are a lot of people who are not able to come to communion because they're in civil marriages or they're just living together. Even people like these couples today who've been in civil unions for many years, but they're not able to come forward to receive Holy Communion. So we're committed to allowing more people to be able to receive Holy Communion.
I think the very important for us today is to celebrate our very special day, and also to receive the sacrament and the blessing from the church. I think that's a main thing for us.
We observe that a lot of couples surround us, parishioner going to the church all the time, and they have a lot of children, but we found out that they don't have blessings, and sometimes they're living for more than 10 years, 20 years, and they're ashamed to come. but we are there to convince them that this is really a very important, a blessings from God to receive a sacramental vow.
So today, as no other day in the rest of your lives, you will stand uniquely in the place of Jesus and administer the sacrament to one another.
What we need to do is encourage people to get married, so that's part of what I think we're doing here.
It's so heartwarming because we're able to give back and give hospitality to them and enjoy the day with them. It really touches you from the core of your being.
Oh my goodness, I feel like a big peace. Nothing like this. Well, it's a feeling like I cannot describe it. You know, it's like a super interior, you know, coming from my soul, from my heart, and I just feel closer to God.
Feeling closer to God. A beautiful day and a beautiful ceremony there. Congratulations to all of the couples. Well, stay tuned. There is more Currents ahead. When we return, the church lends a helping hand to newly married couples.
Some of the issues that were brought up today were in line with some of the issues that we deal on a day-to-day basis. So it was kind of refreshing to see that other people deal with the same type of issues.
Well, finally tonight, for anyone who's gotten married, you know how busy things can get before you finally get to walk down the aisle. There's the catering to take care of. There's who to pick to be in the bridal party, and that can always be contentious. There's the dress. There's the tuxes for all the guys. There's the DJ, and the list, it just goes on and on and on. It seems like there's no end. And for those getting married in the Catholic Church, there is yet another item to add to the to-do list. It's called Pre-Cana, a marriage preparation course couples must take before they can get married in the church. Now, Pre-Cana, which gets its name from the wedding feast in Cana, where Jesus performed his first miracle of turning water into wine, well, teaches couples about the sanctity of marriage. But what happens after the wedding cake is all gone and after all the bags have been unpacked from that whirlwind honeymoon? Well, parishioners at Our Lady of Lourdes in Queens Village wondered the very same thing. And they held what may be a first in the Diocese of Brooklyn, a post-Cana gathering for couples married 5 years or less.
You could be doing a lot of different things today, but you gave up this time to help to strengthen your marriage.
Today we're having a post-Cana. It's our first time that we're doing a post-Cana. My husband and I have been doing pre-Cana for about 4 years. Pre-Cana is a program to prepare them for their marriage, and we thought there was a big gap there once they get married where we're not doing anything with them. If we look at statistics, 40 to 50% of all marriages end in divorce, and it's the first 5 years that are they're most in danger of divorcing. And so we want to get them then before it's too late, really.
Now we're going to talk about, can you hear me now? Communicating as husband and wife.
This day of post-Cana is being formatted after the pre-Cana that we do. So we'll present 3 topics. We picked 3 topics. One is like unloading the baggage. Once you get married, there's some baggage that comes into that marriage and things that pop up that you're surprised about. Our second topic is on communication, which is also done in the pre-Cana, but it is so important. In fact, I always tell the couples in pre-Cana, if you can only remember one word from this whole weekend, I want it to be communication. And our third topic today is money. We briefly mention money when we're in the pre-Cana, but we don't cover it in depth.
What expectations did you have about marriage? And how has the reality of marriage differed from what you expected?
We're giving them some questions. They'll each complete the same set of questions separately and then talk to each other about it. We're also going to bring it back to the big group. We feel that after being married a while, they might benefit from hearing from other couples, the answers to these questions and discussions. So.
Coming to Post-Cana helped us to sit down and think about all the reasons why we got married and what we need to do to continue to sustain the marriage so that we won't be one of the statistics.
Some of the issues that were brought up today were in line with some of the issues that we deal on a day-to-day basis. So it was kind of refreshing to see that other people deal with the same type of issues.
We take it granted that once marriage happens, it's the end of everything, but it's just the beginning when all the problems begin to come. So the church definitely needs this ministry as a support for our young couples that are married.
The waitress is bringing over a flaming cat.
Oh, wow, that's nice.
And the house is on fire.
Okay.
You're not listening to me.
Okay.
We think we know our partner so well, so sometimes we have to kind of, forcefully decide that we are going to listen when our partner is speaking to us. These couples that are here today are off on to a very good start. They're starting on the right foot because they realize the importance of doing that, and that's why they're here today.
I love that. The waitress is bringing over a flaming cat. But, communication and listening. Listening is part of communication, and that is, of course, a very important thing she said there. If it tells couples if she only wants them to get one thing from the Post-Cana, communication. That is kind of really what it is all about. You kind of get communication in there, and the rest of the things sometimes tend to fall into place anyway. But, that's just me. I'll let the teachers do the actual teaching. That's it for this edition of Currents. Now, you'll want to stay with us as we continue to cover the same-sex marriage battle up in Albany. And you'll want to stay with Net, because if it is Tuesday night, it is another new episode of Net's foodie favorite, Breaking Bread, coming up right here at 8, right after Currents. Well, for all of us here at Currents, I'm Matt McClure. Thanks so much for watching this show tonight, and have a great one.